We're going to talk about Thomas Jefferson this evening. Thomas Jefferson wrote many important documents for our government today. And yet, even though he had written many things, often he's been either misquoted or misunderstood for what he stood for and what he meant by when he wrote these documents. What we're going to talk about tonight is the fact of his stance and probably his beliefs on religious freedoms and as they compare to the government in which we lived in. Thomas Jefferson, in 1779, had to start out and rewrite all of the foundational laws that we were going to have here in Virginia. He had to start from scratch because he realized that writing these laws, he was now not basing these laws on the aristocracy, but now he's replacing them with the ideal of republicanism. And so he had to end up writing 126 bills. The bill that we're going to look at tonight are the bills 82 through 86, because the bill of 82 is very foundational to our own Constitution and has had many things written about it and many court cases decided on the ideas of what people think Jefferson may have meant. And often he's been taken out of context. Bill 82 stated about religious freedom. Its goal was to fight the fact that governments up until this point could establish churches. That governments could force basically almost a form of theocracy on the people. It was his understanding of the natural rights of men that we should be free to decide how and who we were going to believe in. We could determine how we were going to worship our God. Now, was this something that needed to be separate from the government? It needed to be separate from the government in the how that we did it. But in no way did he mean for there to be a wall between the state and the church, as we're going to see here in a few moments. But he's been often misquoted as that such. And if you look at it, you have to take it in context with 82, where he's saying we should not have a church run by the state. 83, 84, 85, and 86, though, go into how the state can work with a religious understanding. You see, because in 83, we look at how it says that the state would actually protect the church's holdings. That it would keep its property intact and protected. In 84, he goes so far as to saying that we should have laws with which to punish those who wanted to work on the Sabbath. Now, this surely would not be a separation. How could you have something separate if you're going to go with the very ideals found in Christian religion? Even using the language of the Sabbath. It also went on to protect worshipers during that period of time. Bill 86 goes on to establish a way of saying that marriages could be done by the state, but then again, referring to the Levitical sources in the Bible. And 85 also talked about setting up days that the state governments would recognize fasting and Thanksgiving. All of these are themes within religion. So how could he be separating religion from church? In fact, what it was he was actually not looking for a wall, but a flexible relationship, acknowledging that the state should recognize religion. It should observe religious things. Daniel Desbrock said in our reading that the wall Jefferson constructed was not between religion and civilian government generally, but between religious freedom and the powers of the state. It wasn't that they were supposed to be separate and have absolutely no relationship, not a high impregnable wall, but they were to work together, and the state could not force people to believe in a God, could not force them to pay for taxes for a church. I also have written in a book called Religion and the State in America by Boris Becker, it says, in short, If Jefferson could propose enacting both a state statute of religious freedoms and a fine for working on Sunday, treated by Bill 84 as the Sabbath, how could Justice Black and Justice Rutledge claim that he proposed a separation of church from state by a high impregnable wall? He's referring to Justice Black and Rutledge because they were the ones that came up with the term we see now in the Supreme Court as a separation of church and state, especially by a wall, in the court case of Jefferson versus the Board of Education in 1947. He did not want it separate. He wanted working together. He just did not want to establish religion. This is a misconception that we have about who Thomas Jefferson and to some effects even Madison was. Thank you.